Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Academy. It's your host, Kristen, and if you're new here, welcome to the Alignment Academy podcast. We talk about all things business, spirituality, mindset, healing. We dive deep into a lot of topics, but I am a coach, a business mentor, an angelic channel, and I'm really passionate about helping people step into their soul's purpose and build the life of their dreams, build the business of their dreams, so they can look back at their life and really just not regret a freaking thing. I am such a big advocate of fearlessly living because you just never know when the day is your last. And when I was quitting my corporate job, one of the biggest things that helped me quit was like just the thought of like, I don't want to look back at my life when I'm 80 and regret one thing. So that's why we're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, I'm like a little bit nervous for this episode, honestly, because I'm going to get more vulnerable with you guys than maybe I ever have before. And, I think that I already get pretty vulnerable with you guys, but today I'm like sharing something that, I don't know, I feel like I would only tell my friends, but you guys are my friends. So I feel safe opening up here in this little portal of the internet. But with a podcast, you just never know who's listening. We're just going to hope that no one is listening to this that doesn't need to be listening to this. But if you are, then I guess welcome to. With that being said, we're going to be talking about something that I literally talk about all the time on this podcast, which is inner child work. I am such a big advocate of inner child work and I talk about it all the time, but I forget that some people maybe don't know what that is or they're not really well versed in it. And I've said this a couple times, but I've been doing inner child work for like 5 to 7 years now. It's such a big ingrained part of me that I kind of assume everyone knows what it is, what's going on, how to heal their inner child, but that's not the case, and that's okay. Everyone's on their own journey, but it's a reminder for me to like go back to basics and share some of the basics so that you guys can grow along with me. So that's kind of what we're doing today. I'm going to start out with like unpacking inner child 101, just so you guys have a good base to go off of. And then we are going to unpack one of my inner child wounds so that you guys can see how transformative this work really is. Because I say this all the time, but I love this tool. And the reason it's in every single one of my programs is because this is the tool that has helped me heal my people pleasing, my perfectionism, my fear of being seen, fear of judgment, literally has helped me heal everything, my confidence. And the thing about it is it doesn't just stop when you kind of like transmute those things. Like I still use it today. I am using it to feel worthy in relationships. I'm using it to set boundaries. I'm using it to up level in my business. It's really the gift that never stops giving when you really decide like I am going to commit to a life of tending to my inner world, healing my inner child. And the reason I'm such a big advocate for it is because in this vibrational based universe, the way that you get what you want is by feeling worthy of it. How worthy we feel about ourselves starts in childhood, meaning you are only going to feel as worthy as your inner child felt in childhood. And we're going to get into that, but all of this to say, this is such important work because when you have a really healed inner child and you tend to your inner child and help her feel worthy and seen and loved and validated for her true authentic self, then what you want just kind of comes to you because you feel worthy of it. I've said this so many times on the podcast, but like mushrooms really showed me that the algorithm in this universe, how you get what you want is by knowing who you are as source consciousness and feeling worthy of it. And inner child work is just going to accelerate that and make it so easy that subconsciously you're just attracting things that you desire because you feel worthy of good things. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with some foundational work. So if you're like, who the heck is my inner child? I've heard this term, but I'm not really sure who it is. Your inner child represents the child we once were in both of her negative and positive aspects, meaning the beliefs that she grew up with, her innocence, her unmet needs, her suppressed needs, what people praised her for, what people didn't praise her for. So it's basically the version of yourself you want to think like frozen in time from the time that you're 0 to 21. Now, the way I want like to explain explain this is that when you're 0 to 21, your brain is forming. And while your brain is forming, you are operating in what we call theta brainwaves. Theta is the brainwaves of the subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind is where we operate from in this reality 95% of the time. So how you're operating as an adult is basically everything you learned was true, your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about the world, how you think the world works based on what happened to you from the ages of 0 to 21. All the experiences you had, all the interactions you had, what your parents did or didn't give you, the needs your parents did or did not meet, if you got bullied, if you didn't get bullied, if you got praised for your looks, if you didn't get praised for your looks. All of those, you want to think of those as like the software or the rules to your operating system, right? So you want to think of your brain as like a computer, but when it comes onto this earth plane, it has no software. It's operating, it's like a clean slate. And then from 0 to 21, it's getting downloaded all of the software for the rules that it's going to operate in the world. Now, what's really important is to remember that when we are from 0 to 21, because our brain is still forming and we don't have like the full logic on board, we operate very much so in black and white. Now, what that means is we kind of create black and white rules for the world. Like, I'm worthy, I'm not worthy. My voice is worthy of being heard, it's not worthy of being heard. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you wanted to tell your mom something really cool that happened to you at school. You were really proud of yourself. So you get home from school, maybe your mom is low-key sick, right? And she's on the phone with a doctor. You're trying to tell your mom something and your mom's like, honey, not now, not now, not now. Logically, if you were an adult, you would be able to understand, oh, my mom's on a really important phone call. Like, of course she can't tend to me right now. But as a child, you can't really think like that. Like, you don't have the full picture of what reality is. And so you would create the belief for yourself, I'm not worthy of being heard. What I have to say doesn't matter. No one cares about me. And that can create some trauma, meaning you believe that no one cares what you have to say. And when you do tell someone, they shame you or you get embarrassed. So as you grow up as an adult, this one little situation happened to you and you now hold the belief about yourself that your voice isn't worthy of being heard. And it's not the full picture, but it's just this little piece of trauma that you have. Now, I know I said the word trauma, and some of you might be like, Kristen, trauma? That's not trauma. The way that I define trauma for my clients, which really gives them permission to go in and heal these little instances that may have not been a big deal to their adult self, but were a really big deal to their child self. Trauma is anything that you're not prepared to feel and you can't handle in your system. When we use that definition, these little instances that made us feel less than, right? We got bullied, our parents didn't tend to us, our parents didn't come to our games or support us in school. It gives us permission to say, my inner child needed that and she didn't get it. And I know that that was a big deal for her. And so I'm going to go in and give her what she needed but never received from that adult figure, from that parent figure, right? It's really important that when you're doing inner child work, you are not shaming yourself, because sometimes with my one-on-one clients, we start to do inner child work and they'll be like, yeah, well, this thing happened, but it's not a big deal because I know my dad was really busy and he was going through a lot. Yes, your dad probably was going through a lot. And it can be like, yes, and your inner child needed a parent, an adult there to walk you through whatever you were going through, and you were really hurt by it. So when we give ourselves permission to be hurt, we are not like ignoring that little part of ourselves that's like, no, like I really did need that. That is a part of healing. That's a part of, being really confident in yourself and just, the journey. And I think that another big part of it is that when you start inner child work, it's really normal to like be angry. It's really normal to look at your parents a little bit differently. And this is a really, really normal part of it that not a lot of people talk about, because I believe that we're not here to like shame anyone. You're going to start to see a lot of patterns when you start to do inner child work of like, oh my God, my mom's a people pleaser, or oh my gosh, like I really needed that. My parents really kind of fucked that up. And we have to remember that like everyone is doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they had. And if they haven't done any inner child work, they're operating out of their literal like childhood beliefs. And you can start to see that, when you look at your money mindset and you look at your beliefs around the world, you're like, oh my gosh, like I only believe that because my dad told me I need to work hard to make a lot of money. That just fucked me up. And you can be so mad at your dad, or you can say, wow, that's really sad that they never learned the truth about reality and they don't know how to change their subconscious beliefs. And then you start to have actually compassion for everyone, because you're like, oh my gosh, everyone is just walking around as unhealed inner children and no one knows how to heal it. Anyway, I digress. I kind of got on a tangent. What we really need to remember is that these rules, these beliefs create our environment and the world around us. And we attract reality. We see reality not based on as it is, but as we are, right? So if we believe we're not worthy, money is really hard to make, you can't do whatever you want with your life, those are going to be the rules that you're going to operate by. And that's going to be what's present in your reality. It's so crazy for me. Like, I will change my beliefs in the subconscious mind, and then my reality shifts like that. And I'll give you guys an example. On my it was 2 episodes ago with Jerica, we talked about like using affirmations to like change the rules of your reality so that like your subconscious mind is going to pull in different things. And one of the things that I like just changed with my subconscious mind, since I've been doing this work so much, I just like to like play with my subconscious mind to see if I can shift reality really quickly, is like, I make money in my sleep. Like, I want to make money in my sleep. I make sales in my sleep. And guys, every single night that I've woken up since then, I swear to gosh, I have made a sale in my sleep, because that is the rule for my reality now. And it does take practice and priming. And I've worked a lot on these beliefs around money for like years. So it doesn't surprise me that I've shifted it so quickly, but like, that's how it's going to change, right? When you believe you're worthy of love, or you believe you're worthy of that business, or you believe you're worthy of a client coming to you and paying in full, that's going to be the rule of your reality. And that's going to start to show up in your reality, because your subconscious mind believes that that is true for you. So that's really why we do this work. I kind of gave you guys the rundown of like who the inner child is and how it forms and blah, 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 blah. But I want to tell you guys how I use it with my clients. It's really to heal limiting beliefs. With inner child work, you can see where you are essentially unhealed or you have a wound by taking note of your triggers. The way I define triggers is almost like a bigger emotional response to an external event that you should have. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that subconsciously you believe that like you're ugly, right? Because a boy in 5th grade called you ugly and you liked that boy, right? So you have this wound around being ugly. Let's say you and your friends are snapping pictures of each other, and there's one where your face is weird and your friend's like, oh my God, you look so ugly in that picture. And you get really triggered inside. You're like, oh my gosh, like that really hurt me. I know she didn't mean to hurt me, but why am I so activated? Why am I so hurt? That is a clear indication of a trigger that's coming up. Like, you're having a bigger reaction than you should. And then if you were actually to do inner child work around it, you would see, oh, it's because in 5th grade, the boy that I liked called me ugly and it really hurt my feelings. And that's reactivating that wound. But the universe likes to use triggers as teachers, because when you reactivate the wound, you get to see where you need to heal. And then when you heal that, now you're operating from more wholeness. So now you're going to actually attract what you desire and be more worthy, and then like get what you want in this life. So the universe really only is ever trying to bring you back to wholeness, but it does that through triggers, right? It does that through the opposite of wholeness so that you can come back. So with my clients, we really do this thing where we like keep track of our triggers, and then we do inner child work around it. And it is such a transformational experience to get triggered and then like actually go down and do the work and be like, holy crap, I've never put this together. This is why. And then you go and heal it, and then it never is really a thing again. Sometimes you have to do it a couple times, right? Like most of the time you have to do things a couple times, but for the most part, once you have that awareness of like, oh, it's happened because of this, it brings so much clarity, and the trigger is so lessened because you really can operate from a place of logic then. Let me give you one more example before we get into my real life example. Let's say that you get really triggered every single time someone says no to working with you. This is actually one from my past. Like when I first started my business, I used to get so triggered when someone said no. I would be like down for like 3 or 4 days, and I'd get so triggered if someone was like, yeah, sorry, I don't want to work with you. And the reason, when I really rooted it down, it was because it made me feel not good enough. The root of that memory is when I was younger and I was like around my parents, they would always call people who were unsuccessful losers. They'd be like, oh, like look at those McDonald's workers, like they're losers. And again, I'm not trying to like call anyone out, but that's a real memory I have. So then I really, because of the black and white thinking, I was like, oh, if you're unsuccessful, you're a loser and you don't get love. And so when people would say no to me, it triggered that unsuccessful piece of me. And then I was like, now I'm a loser and I'm not going to get love, right? So you can kind of see how everything was kind of connected. But if I hadn't done inner child work on it, I would have just been like, why am I so triggered? Or I would have just stayed in that trigger and maybe not even know how to self-regulate and maybe quit my business. And that's why I use inner child work to grow your business, is because because when you actually have a tool to say, I'm triggered because I didn't get enough likes, or I'm triggered because someone said no, or I'm triggered because I didn't get enough signups, but you have a tool to re-regulate and then still feel worthy amongst that, like, holy shit, guys, your life changes, you know? Your life literally changes. Literally. After going to London and seeing so many Australian people, my friends and I have been like talking in Australian accents, and I can't stop. Like, literally, or that's proper crazy. Okay, sorry, little side note, but I love a good Aussie accent. Actually, I don't like love them, but I love saying them. Okay. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the episode. So I've given you guys a lot of examples, and I am giving you these examples because I want this to spark some maybe thoughts or epiphanies in yourself of like, oh my gosh, I get triggered like that, or I get activated. I do want to find the root. And if you're interested in starting this journey, you can get my inner child meditation and masterclass on the links below. I highly recommend the masterclass just so you have like all the information and you know how to bring yourself completely through the process. But both places are a great place to start. It's just a really good starting point. If you're like, I definitely need some of this work, I'm getting triggered all the time. You can just start even by writing down your triggers in a journal, like all the places you've gotten triggered in the last, week or two, and that will be a good starting point. The thing is, this work is never done, and that's what I found after 7 years of doing it. I think I'm like, oh my God, my inner child is so healed. I've done so much work, and then I get triggered as fuck, and I'm like, damn, the work is never really done. There's always work to do, and it kind of becomes fun though, because you get better at finding the roots, and then it's like this big aha moment. So I wanted to share this story with you guys about my dating life, because honestly, it's a little bit non-existent, but it wasn't for a hot second. And we're going to just go through this so you guys can see in real time, like, wow, you can use inner child work for literally anything. I just wanted to interrupt this episode quickly to remind you that Scared to Seen, my 8-week visibility accelerator, is open for enrollment. This is going to start the first week in February. And if you're not familiar with Scared to Seen, it is the only program on the market that teaches you how to heal the fear of being seen and fear of judgment, build unshakable confidence, and master social media strategy so that you can make sales. This is literally my dream program, because when I was building my business, the biggest thing, the hurdle that I had to overcome was overcoming the fear of being seen. And no one was teaching me how to. I didn't understand why I was getting so triggered by my social media or how to heal it. And so we really dive into the deep inner work that is required. We use mostly inner child and shadow work here. And then week over week, I'm going to bring you from not posting at all to posting consistently, finding your brand voice, knowing what to post to make sales on social media. And I'm going to give you my behind the scenes strategy that has grown me a 6-figure business with 0 paid ads, grown me to 100K followers on Instagram, 120K on TikTok. Like, the things that I'm going to teach you and how to make content authentically is going to really create ripples in your life and business. So if you're interested in enrolling, you can enroll in the link below called Scared to Seen, and I hope to see you inside. Let me paint the picture for you guys. Okay, I think I need to start at the very beginning, which is actually a cool story. So I wanted to manifest someone asking me out in person. I'm kind of starting to get back on the market because, it's been almost a year, and I'm like starting to dip my toes, be like a little bit ready. But honestly, I don't have any shame around the apps. I just feel like I'm a little too busy for them right now. I don't really have time to swipe, my retreat business, my podcast, my business. I'm just I'm a little busy. And so I wanted to just play with the universe and manifest someone asking me on a date in person. It happened literally a couple days after I wrote it on my manifestation list. This guy that I was in the elevator with a lot in my building, we would just talk and, literally have 5-second conversations. He ended up asking me on a date. It was kind of funny. He was moving out, and then he asked me, he was like, hey, I would love to keep hanging out. I know we don't know each other that well, but can I get your number? And that was just a really cool manifestation moment, because now my rule is I get asked out a lot in person. And even since then, I've gotten asked out one more time, even though I said no to that one. It's kind of cool just to play with the universe in all these little ways of this is my rule for my reality now, is I get asked out in person. So I get asked out by Elevator Man. Let's call him Elevator Man. And I go on a couple dates with him. So I go on one date with him. And then I go to dinner with my friends who are both single as well. So we always unpack our dating life. Usually I have nothing to unpack, but this time I did, which was cool. We had all gone on a first date that week. And so we were getting dinner on a Friday, and one of my friends was saying, yeah, like my date didn't go well. He asked me on a second date during the date, and I told him like, hey, I just don't feel a connection right now. Thank you. And I like got a little triggered in that moment. I'm like, girl, you told him in person that you didn't like him? Like my people pleasing was like triggered. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, I could never do that. I noted in my head that I was triggered, but I didn't think much about it. And so I kept on going. We kept on eating dinner. I was like, damn girl, like you're really confident, huh? Like I could never do that. I could never tell someone to their face that I don't want to date them. This was just the beginning though. After that, we were talking about my experience and I was like, yeah, like the first date was like, it was actually kind of good. I was like, I think we're going to go on a second date, but I was telling them I'm dreading the second date because first dates, people don't try to kiss you. And I am the type of girl, guys, like I think you know, like if I am not into something, it is just so clear. I can't fake it. I'm not one of those girls who could just like be in like a fling relationship, like just because you're bored and you want someone there. If I don't feel it with someone, I literally can't fake it. And so I was telling my friends like, yeah, we do have a second date plan, but I'm feeling really, really, really anxious about it. And they were like, why? And I was like, because like on a first date, you know, no one's going to try to kiss you, hopefully. Not on the ones I go to. And it's normal, like just to be getting to know each other. But I was like, on the second date, I don't want him to try to kiss me because what if I don't want to kiss him? And my friend straight up goes, Kristen, then just tell him no. Like just turn your head away and don't kiss him. And then I like got even more triggered. I was like, what? But he just paid for dinner. And she goes, Kristen, just because he paid for dinner doesn't mean you have to kiss him. And I was like, it doesn't? Guys, I am aware of how crazy I sound right now, but this is what inner child wounds will do to you. It will make you do weird shit because you don't feel worthy of getting paid for or whatever. Anyway, I get triggered and I'm just like sitting there like at the dinner table. And by the way, these friends, they all do inner child work. So like we can have these deep conversations and I'm triggered and I'm like not saying anything. And I'm going through in my head, tracking this trigger down. I'm like, where the fuck is this coming from? Like, this is like weird. I'm really triggered at dinner. What do you mean I don't have to kiss him? Like, I'm just triggered. And guys, I also want to preface this with like, I haven't dated in a long time. You know, I was in a 4-year relationship. It's been a year. So like I haven't dated in over 5 years. So this is all like a little bit new to me. So give me some peace, give me some slack. Okay. I find the root of the trigger and I have like this humongo epiphany. And this is the power of inner child work. I am sitting there with my friends and I was like, guys, and I like walk them through it. I'm like, okay, when you just said all that, I got pretty triggered. And so I just like rooted it down to why I feel unworthy of men paying for me, because basically the feelings that I was feeling was like, oh, I owe this guy something. Like if he pays for my dinner, I have to like give him something back. Like I'm not worthy of being paid for and just like being paid for. Like if he pays for me, I need to kiss him. I need to give him something back. I need to reward him for something, if that makes sense. And that's so fucked up. What I rooted it back to is in childhood, my parents got divorced. When my parents got divorced, they didn't speak for years. Like I think it was like literally like 10 years before they actually had a conversation, which is like legit so fucked up, but I digress. Story for another time. So they would speak through me because I'm the youngest. So my sisters were in college and my dad owed my mom child support. It was just this thing where my parents would force me to have really uncomfortable conversations. Like, hey, the child support is late and my mom really needs it. Can you give me the money? Can you give me the check? And like, guys, I'm like 16, you know what I mean? I'm like in high school. It was really uncomfortable for me. However, there were a lot of times where I had to kind of beg for this child support. What it created was this belief that I am not worthy of being taken care of. I am not worthy of getting paid for. And yeah, like I'm not worthy of money basically. And then to make it even worse, when I went to college and my parents split my tuition, it happened again where I would have to sometimes beg for my tuition money. And so it created this really deep rooted belief of like paying for me makes other people uncomfortable and paying for me is a burden. And getting my needs met comes at a cost. I had this huge epiphany that the reason I'm uncomfortable when men pay for me and why I feel like I need to give them something back or I owe them something is because of what happened to me when I was in my parents' divorce. Having to beg for money, feeling unworthy of it, and feeling like my needs were just not worthy of being met. After that, I took it through inner child work, and I work with like a different dad in my inner child meditations where I have this like cute little like emotionally available older man. He has white hair. He wears a little baseball cap and has glasses on. He's helped me heal so many of like my father wound memories. He came in and I have this memory because like I would always be in the car with my dad at the time and like having to ask him wait till the last minute, hey, mom needs child support. Like, can you give me the money? So I would actually imagine this older man, my parents had still gotten divorced, but instead of like me having to beg for money before I get out of the car, he goes, oh, wait, I have the child support for your mom. I hope she's well. I hope she's okay. Tell her I said hi and I gave you guys a little bit extra. Just, I know it's the holidays and I want you guys to be fully taken care of. This beautiful old man that I made up, this dad of mine, gives me more than what I need. He gives me more and it makes me feel so deserving of it and make sure that I know that he wants me to be taken care of. It was just this huge healing. Like I was bawling, crying in this inner child meditation because I was like, oh my God, like my inner child just needed to feel worthy of getting money spent on her. And I know that like there could be some comments around like, well, like men don't need to pay for you or blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear it. This was like my experience. I'm just telling you guys about a trigger and yeah, I just don't want to hear it. I'm just going to call that out real quick. That was how I worked through that inner child wound. And I think that this was just a good representation or example where hopefully it gave you guys some aha moments of things that have been happening for you, or maybe you had some downloads about like why you have some inner child wounds or some memories that might have affected how you're acting today. Because when you get to the root, guys, it's so freeing. You no longer feel like you're a victim of like these programs of like, this is the way it is, or I'm just going to attract shitty men. Like you're like, oh no, I don't feel worthy of better. And so now I know how to feel worthy of better. And then now that I feel worthy, I'm going to attract better. So it really puts you back into the driver's seat so that you can have everything that you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll just give you guys a recap so I don't like give you a cliffhanger. Long story short, this was not my guy. There was kind of a blend of like, I just kind of felt like something was off. And right now I'm just kind of going through a lot in my business and I want all my focus to be on this. I don't really have a lot of time to date. And also like, I kind of feel like if it's the right person, I will make time. And I just wasn't feeling like I wanted to spend time doing that. Elevator man is no more, unfortunately. I wish him the best and he's a really, really great guy, but he is just not my guy. And that's like kind of where I'm at in my dating life. I'm just smooth sailing, just building my empire on the back end. And honestly, if you're single, girlies, the best thing that you can do is build your freaking empire. The other day, Brie came over and she was like, girl, your apartment is like so quiet. Like I can really see how you just get a lot of shit done in here. And I'm like, girl, there's nothing to do but work here. I'm like, I'm just here in build mode. And she's like, girl, you have been in build mode. It was funny because I was just like, but you know what? I am so happy because when I do meet my person, I'm going to be like, I just built this empire and I'm going to be in such a good place, like financially, in business, personally. And it's going to feel, I think that like that full body, like I'm glad I had that time to build. So if you're, going through a breakup or you're going through a single season and you're having trouble loving it, this is your reminder to go all in on yourself, because this is actually something that I definitely wanted to talk about. So I'm glad I reminded myself to talk about this. It's kind of funny that I feel like in your single season, you like grow. And then your growth almost like gets frozen where you got in a relationship. And then you don't have to pick up that healing back up until you get out of that relationship and you're single again. Because I know that I can only really focus on my growth in this capacity in my single season. I'm like trying to go all in on becoming the very best version of myself, because I know when I get into a relationship, it's just like a new era. Now you're in relation to someone and you can't do as much of the alone work that you need to. So my focus right now is like being so fucking happy alone, like literally just like so pumped to spend time with myself and in love with with my life, and I'm definitely so close. Like I really do love what I got going on. I love the businesses I built. I love all the retreats and the trips that I have upcoming. And it's just a good season. So if you're in this season too, just soak it up because it's going to end like this. And that's how I know it's going to be for me. It's like, it's going to be one day. I will never know when I'm going to run into my person on the street, at the gym, get asked on a date. And it's like, from that point on, you're not single anymore at all. You know, I really want to look back at this period and like, I know I might even miss it because I just do me so fucking hard. Like I hang out with my dog at night. I build my businesses. I don't answer to anyone. I don't have very well thought out dinners. Even when Brie came over the other night, she was like, Kristen, your fridge is really interesting because I'm like the worst cook, guys. And I will eat the laziest dinners. I will eat like French fries in a smoothie bowl like every night. I do not care. And so I'm just like in this like weird single season, but I kind of love it. And in my little queen era. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this episode. If you have any episode requests, my DMs are open as always. And I forgot to tell you guys, if you haven't rated and reviewed the podcast and you want my free Trust the Universe and Release Anxiety meditation, all you have to do is give me a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to this on, and then send me a screenshot to @Alignment Academy Podcast along with following the page, and I will gift you my free anxiety and Trust the Universe meditation. A lot of you guys have already done it and you said you loved it. So thank you. And I love you guys and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.